Vladimir Putin, a name that has dominated global headlines for over 2 decades. A former KGB officer turned Russian president, Putin has shaped modern Russia and positioned himself as one of the most influential and controversial leaders in the world. But who is Vladimir Putin? How did he rise to power? What drives his decisions? And why is he waging a brutal war in Ukraine? Today, we're diving deep into the man, his motivations, and the implications of his actions for the world. Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin was born in 1952 in Leningrad, now known as St. Petersburg. Growing up in post-World War II Soviet Union, his childhood was marked by hardship and scarcity. As a young man, Putin was drawn to the Soviet Union's intelligence services. In 1975, he joined the KGB, serving as a foreign intelligence officer. For years, he worked quietly, gaining experience and honing his skills in espionage, diplomacy, and manipulation traits that would later define his political career. When the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, Putin returned to his hometown, a nation in chaos. But for him, the collapse wasn't just a geopolitical shift. It was, as he later described, the greatest geopolitical catastrophe of the 20th century. Putin's political rise began in the early 1990s when he became an aide to the mayor of St. Petersburg. Known for his loyalty and effectiveness, he caught the attention of Russia's political elite. In 1999, Boris Yeltsin, Russia's first president, appointed Putin as prime minister. Just months later, Yeltsin unexpectedly resigned, handing the presidency to Putin. Almost overnight, a relatively unknown bureaucrat became the leader of the world's largest country. Putin's rise wasn't accidental. He positioned himself as a strongman who could restore stability, pride, and order to a Russia struggling with economic crises and the chaos of post-Soviet democracy. And for many Russians, he delivered, at least initially. To understand Putin, you must understand his vision for Russia. He's not just a politician, he's a nationalist and a strategist. His goal has always been to restore Russia to what he sees as its rightful place as a global superpower. Under Putin, Russia has pursued economic growth fueled by its vast energy resources. He's centralized power, silenced dissent, and built an image of strength through military interventions in places like Georgia, Syria, and now Ukraine. But at the heart of his vision is the idea that Russia should not only be strong, but respected or even feared on the global stage. And he views Western powers, particularly NATO, as obstacles to this vision. Ukraine is central to Putin's worldview. For him, Ukraine isn't just another neighbor, it's part of what he considers the Russian world. He's repeatedly claimed that Ukrainians and Russians are one people, downplaying Ukraine's sovereignty and independence. The seeds of the current war were planted in 2014 when a pro-Russian president was ousted in Ukraine's Maidan Revolution. Ukraine turned westward, seeking closer ties with the European Union and NATO, a move Putin viewed as a direct threat to Russia's sphere of influence. His response? The annexation of Crimea and the backing of separatist movements in eastern Ukraine. But these actions weren't enough to pull Ukraine back into Russia's orbit. In February 2022, Putin launched a full-scale invasion, claiming it was to denazify Ukraine and protect Russian speakers. But the truth is more complex. Putin's ultimate goal is to prevent Ukraine from becoming a successful Western-aligned democracy. Why? Because it challenges his narrative and threatens his grip on power. Putin likely believed the war in Ukraine would be a quick victory, showcasing Russian strength and deterring NATO expansion. Instead, it's turned into a prolonged and costly conflict. International sanctions have hit Russia's economy hard, and the war has isolated Russia diplomatically. Meanwhile, Ukraine, bolstered by Western aid, has mounted a fierce resistance. Domestically, Putin faces growing challenges. While his control over Russian media has helped him maintain support, cracks are appearing. Protests, economic struggles, and dissent within his inner circle suggest that not everyone is on board with his vision. So what does Vladimir Putin want? Power, influence, and a Russia that commands respect and fear on the world stage. But the war in Ukraine has revealed the limits of that power. It's shown the resilience of the Ukrainian people, the strength of international alliances, and the cracks in Putin's own regime. Vladimir Putin is a man shaped by history, but he's also shaping history in real time. The question is, how will his story end, and at what cost to the world? Thank you for watching. What are your thoughts on Vladimir Putin and his role in the war in Ukraine? Let's continue this conversation in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the stories shaping our world.